President, Claudine Gay, is stepping down. The announcement coming in an email earlier today. Her resignation brings an end to the shortest presidency in the university's history, just 6 months into her term. That move comes amid growing allegations of plagiarism and her response to anti-Semitism on campus during congressional testimony last month. She was criticized for not being able to say that calls for the genocide of Jews would violate the school's conduct policy. Our White House correspondent Mary Alice Parks joins us now with more. So what more do we know about her decision to resign, Mary Alice?
Yeah, Kira, in some ways, this is a very fast end to a very short tenure. Like you said, she only took over in the job in July. The Harvard Crimson says that it will be the shortest tenure of any university president since the 1600s. She's the first black woman to serve in this role. And like you said, she's faced months of intense scrutiny over her handling of alleged anti-Semitism on campus. There was a series of letters and statements put out by the university in the fallout of the October 7th Hamas attack against Israel that a lot of, frankly, Jewish donors and other members of the community, alums and concerned students and alums found really fell short. They didn't think that she properly acknowledged the pain, the suffering, the atrocities committed by Hamas, didn't properly respond to the fear and anti-Semitism that students were feeling on campus. You know, in those early days, they did move, the university leadership under her guidance did move to set up task forces, sort of respond, hold listening sessions. But all of that, Kira, we will remember, was just overshadowed by that congressional testimony. There's pictures right there that we're looking at. Such a firestorm, such intense backlash after that testimony that so many thought just fell short in responding to some basic questions about how the university would handle certain words on campus, calls for genocide on campus. We saw those university presidents give very lawyer-like responses that just created such backlash. And then, like you mentioned, Kira, in the last few weeks, because of all of this scrutiny, maybe a part of all this scrutiny, there's been more attention on her own academic record, new allegations of plagiarism. In the end, we saw today a new statement from her saying basically that it just didn't make sense for there to be so much attention on one individual. There should be more attention on the entire university and institution as it tries to navigate this complicated time. Kira.
Yeah, it was complicated, all right. And as we watch that testimony, I mean, all three of the presidents, critics say it looked like they lacked empathy and they were just reading from a script. How are those in Washington, here in our nation's capital, at the White House, up on the Hill? What kind of response are you hearing after this?
A response is just starting to come in. Elise Stefanik, that Republican member of Congress, a member of Republican leadership, who really led in that congressional hearing, really grilling those university presidents. She put out a statement just a few moments ago saying that this resignation was long overdue. She seems to be making it a personal mission of hers to continue to investigate what's going on these universities. But it's not, of course, just Republicans. I mean, we're talking about the Department of Education that is also launched investigations into the handling of anti-Semitism on many of these college campuses. But we've seen Republicans in particular really frustrated with some of these responses. But across the board, I would just say that I think that we've seen a charge from Republicans, but bipartisan concern for some of that testimony at that congressional hearing. And I imagine that we'll start to see additional statements from members of Congress in the next few hours and days. Kira.
Wowie, wow, 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 folks. What's on tap for today? You're watching the Dr. Nasser Shaikh Show. I'm your host, Dr. Nasser, and what we have on tap is the resignation of Mrs. Magoo, Claudine Gay. I don't know, folks, but it's really hard for me to tell, and a pronoun for Claudine Gay, not really sure where she fits in. She's sort of like Pat from SNL. Are we talking about a Mr. Magoo or a Mrs. Magoo? But here's some people, Ibram X. Kendi, right? I know I'm pronouncing his name wrong. I don't really care. Because this guy's a cultural appropriator, a name appropriator. He's one of the worst race traitors, race haters, race baiters. He's been able to get affirmative action because this guy hasn't done a single dang thing in his life. Everything started to fall into place for him when he put the exotic name up there of what? Ibram X. Kendi. He was born Henry Rogers, folks. They talk about culture appropriating, name appropriating. X. Kendi? Ibram? If you wanted to say Ibrahim or Abraham, no, I'm going to call myself Ibram X. Kendi. And like I said, they're woke activists. They're raging over the Claudine Gay's resigning as Harvard president. They call them racist mobs. Oh, racist mobs are coming after Claudine Gay. Right. And as racist mobs of Palestinian students weren't coming after Jewish students. This is Ibram Kendi, also known as Henry Rogers, folks. Henry Rogers. He's the guy that sold millions upon millions of dollars putting together a racist institute think tank at Boston University or Boston College or whatever. Boy, I tell you what, I wonder if the people that gave that money really care about where that money went to. Probably not, as long as they can say they gave it to somebody. And here's what he said. Hardcore woke activists and critical race theory pushers, including Professor Ibram X. Kendi, raged in the void of social media in response to Claudine Gay was resigning from her positions at Harvard University. Breitbart News report on Tuesday that Gay finally announced her resignation after weeks of battling accusation of plagiarism in the wake of her botched testimony before Congress. You think? Goes on to say, it's just 6 months and 2 days into her presidency. Makes her tenure the shortest in Harvard's history. Said you got to go all the way back to like 1600 or something to find anything shorter. According to the letter, Chief Academic Officer Alan M. Garber will take over as interim president. I bet you Alan's happy. I don't know his status, but I wonder what he thinks of it. He's all giddy and happy going home to his wife. Guess what, honey? I'm president. Woohoo! Harvard University, baby. Good old Alan B. Garber. And it says that Gay informed the Harvard community in an email. It says it has been frightening. It's been frightening to be subjected to personal attacks and threats fueled by racial animus. Oh, join the crowd there, Claudine Gay. Join the crowd. What do you think that the Jewish students were feeling? Do you think that they were being subjected to personal attacks and threats fueled by racial animus? Ha ha! I wonder how the shoe fits onto the other foot there, Tootsie. And it says, racist mobs won't stop until they topple all black people from positions of power and influence who are not reinforcing the structure of racism. What these racist mobs are doing should be obvious to any reporter who cares about truth or justice or the American way. I didn't even know Superman's involved in this. As opposed to conflicts and cliques. CNC, baby. Write it down. CNC. Raged. Ibram Henry Rogers X. Kendi. These are all people that have benefited. Ibram Henry Rogers and Claudine Mrs. Magoo or Mr. Magoo are all beneficiaries of DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion. But at least on Harvard and Penn, DEI has gone to DIE. It's gone to die. That's right. It's now, I always thought it should, see, they didn't want to put it DIE. They didn't want to put diversity, inclusion, equity. Somebody said, oh, that's a good spelling of the word, but we don't want to be confused with die. So we're going to make it DEI. I think it should be DIE. Do you think I'm culturally appropriating a Southern accent? Yuck, 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 yuck. And now look at this moron. Dr. Mark Lamont Hill, another race traitor, another race baiter, another race... Did I say traitor, hater, and baiter? Okay. All these people, Mark Lamont Hill, wherever he went to college, he didn't deserve it. Didn't have the grades. I don't think he did. How do we know he wasn't a thing of affirmative action? Claudine Gay, not written a book. I think they said 11, 12, 13, 14 papers. How do we even know whether or not Claudine Gay actually even wrote her resignation? Maybe somebody else wrote it for her. Wouldn't that be something? You can't even write your own resignation letter. They find out that plagiarized from that as well. She's a DEI, DIE. Absolutely. She didn't deserve to be president only because she was black. And she was a Mr. or Mrs. Magoo. I still can't tell. And Mark Lamont Hill, the next president of Harvard, must, M-U-S-T capitalized, must be a black woman. Oh, really? And Wajahat. Good old Wajahat. Where are you, Wadgy? Come on, Wadgy. Let's go, Wadgy. Chris Rufo and bad faith right-wing actors win again, said Daily Beast columnist Wajahat Ali. Oh, my goodness. It just gets... And then, here it is. Another race baiter, another race traitor, another race hater. Traitor, hater, baiter. Jamel Hill tweeted, when white people are hired in any position, the automatic assumption is they were the best person. Yeah, probably, because there was no affirmative action for white people. But when black people are hired, it's assumed we got there because of affirmative action. That's right, Jamel. All men know sports better than you, honey. You're only there because they needed somebody there. They needed females, whether they knew the sports or not. Some of them are okay. Some are okay. Some are really good, and some are really terrible. And Jamel, that's one reason why you got booted and tooted from ESPN, that woke Institute of Sports. Because you just weren't that good, honey. Let me mansplain something to you. And she goes on to say, when black people are hired, it's assumed we got there because of affirmative action, which, by the way, doesn't mean underqualified. Oh, really? I think it does. AA equals UQ. That's my new axiom. That's my new mathematics. If you guys can say in new math that 2 plus 2 doesn't equal 4, but 2 plus 2 equals 5, I can use my mathematical axiom, and I will say A squared, affirmative action, is equal to UQ. If affirmative action never existed, a lot of white people would still believe deeply in their own superiority because that's what they've been taught. Oh, white people have been deeply superiority because that's what they've been taught. Says a race baiter, race hater, race traitor, hater, baiter, traitor, Jamel Hill. This is in response to the guy Gunther Eagleman, a true patriot, who said affirmative action hires don't work. And that's what Jamel Hill had to retweet to. Oh, and this is another thing that she added. Considering there have been 30 presidents of Harvard and Claudine Gay was the only black one in history, she had to be extremely qualified to even be in that position. Wrong, 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 Jamel. Wrong, Ibrahim, Henry Rogers. Wrong, all of you out there, you leftists, you losers, you lunatics, you liberals, you progressives, you Democrats, like Sanctajank Uyghur of the the Young Turks, when he blew a gasket against his co-anchor, right? Basically saying that I don't care about Claudine Gay. I don't care about what's going on over there. She deserves to be there regardless if she plagiarized. It's just, who cares what she did? Unbelievable. No, she wasn't extremely qualified. She was extremely under-freaking qualified because she was a DEI, DIE hire. Affirmative action. In fact, I could stamp my moniker onto Claudine Gay. My acronym, SIMR. She's stupid, idiotic, moronic, and retarded. That's right, folks. That's right. SIMR, because these people just simmer in that stew of stupidity, idiocy, moronicity, and retardedness. Folks, that's my take on the resignation of Claudine Gay. Hope you enjoyed. You've been watching the Dr. Nasser Shaikh Show. I'm your host, Dr. Nasser. If you haven't done so already and you love our content, what are you waiting for? Go ahead and smash that subscription bell, like, share, and follow. You all know what to do. I'll leave you. Oh, take a look at our other video links here and below. My final thought, as always, when you're right, you're right. And I'm so damn right on this Claudine Gay thing. And when you're left, you're wrong. Until next time, folks, take care and stay safe.